All right, good evening. We'll call this meeting to order. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none, reading and confirmation of the minutes of the Council Planning Committee meeting held on March 2nd, 2026 be approved. Moved by Councillor Kelly, second by Councillor Enright Miller. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I have some opening remarks. The public meeting is being heard by the Council Planning Committee, and public notice has been given in accordance with the Planning Act. The citizen appointees are Mr. John Baltudis, Mr. Paul Jennings, Mr. Tyler Fenton, and Ms. Sarita Van Dyke. They may ask questions and participate in the discussion to assist in recommendations to City Council, but may not make motions or vote in connection with the public meeting. An important update regarding Bill 185. The right to appeal a planning decision is now restricted further. Appeals are limited to the applicant, the minister, approval authorities, public bodies, and specified persons who have made oral or written submissions prior to the adoption of an official plan amendment or zoning bylaw amendment. Specified persons are defined in the Planning Act and are made up of a limited list of entities, mainly consisting of impacted utility providers or telecommunication infrastructure providers. Therefore, it is crucial for those directly affected to make their submissions known during this public meeting. The Engineering and Development Services Department will consider comments received at this public meeting, as well as written comments in analyzing the applications that are part of the public meeting tonight. For further information on how to provide comments to the City regarding an application from this public meeting, please email planning@belleville.ca. A recommendation report will be brought forward upon receipt of all agency and public comments in the future. Any persons wishing to be advised of the Council Planning Committee's recommendations regarding today's applications are requested to leave their name and address on the appropriate notification sheet on the clipboard beside the podium. Now move on to the public meeting portion. 5.1 Notice of Public Meeting Zoning Bylaw Amendment Bylaw 2024-100 West Belleville Secondary Plan Area Application for Proposed Official Plan Amendment. File number is PLOPA 2025-0379. If staff could present the application, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is a secondary plan update to the current Loyalist secondary plan, which will be rebranded as the West Belleville secondary plan as this plan moves forward. Tonight we have our project consultants from Dillon Consulting. We have Rory Becks and Amy Greenberg that will present the draft plan as well as some of the background information for you, and then can answer some project information. Again, this is the statutory public meeting, so we're still accepting feedback, and there's definitely iterations that can still come forward before the final recommendation report will be presented to you at a later meeting. Thank you.
And I would ask anybody approaching the podium if you could just state your name so that the deputy clerk can have record, please.
Good evening, Chair and members of Planning Advisory Committee and citizens of Belleville that are in attendance this evening. I'm very honored to be before you. My name is Rory Becks. I'm a registered professional planner in Ontario and a partner at Dillon Consulting. I've been a planner for 30 years and take pride in serving the communities, including serving Belleville. I've served Belleville in a variety of capacities since around the early 2010s. And I'm very happy to have been in service to the community for so long. Joining me this evening is Amy Greenberg, one of our urban designers and planners. Amy will take you through the history of the West Belleville Secondary Plan study, the background analysis that was conducted, the information that we've gathered, the analysis that's been undertaken, and we'll offer a walkthrough on the secondary plan itself, a very important planning instrument that will help guide growth and development of the community well into the next few decades. Amy, without any further ado, over to you.
Thank you so much. So to begin, today will be a walkthrough essentially of where we started and how we got here today. Sorry, thank you. So we'll take you through the why we are updating this plan to begin with, formerly titled the Loyalist Secondary Plan. We are now referring to it as the West Belleville Secondary Plan. We'll get into how we came up with the land use concept and the financial considerations behind it, and what is required to make this growth into a reality. So A quick introduction, we've talked about the project team. We have worked very closely with Tom and Steve at the City of Belleville, along with Jared as well. And again, Rory and I are here today from the Dillon Consulting team. So as mentioned, today is the statutory public meeting. It is a requirement under Section 17 of the Planning Act. So our goal today is to go over the revised draft secondary plan and gather any feedback from the public to then bring it in front of the Planning Advisory Committee to see if there are any additional refinements before we finalize and adopt the plan. So to go into the project overview and the planning context, a quick update on what a secondary plan is. It is usually a set of detailed policies for a specific area that is anticipated for lots of growth, lots of change. So the Loyalist Secondary Plan had been adopted in 2010. So this was at a time where it aligned to a timeline of 2030. So outdated now, and lots of changes have happened since. So I will get into that. So again, Belleville has changed quite a bit since the 2000s. It was at a time where it was very car-centric, lots of suburban growth, anticipated a slower pace of development, but lots has changed since then. There are rising housing costs, changing needs in mobility, and then on top of that, lots of impacts from climate change that now we need to kind of re-envision this area and see what the future kind of holds for it and what is anticipated in terms of the next valuable wave of development for the city. So as I mentioned, the plan is outdated. Since this had been adopted, the province had put out different provincial interests. The provincial planning statement was updated in 2024. With that came some expectations around housing, looking for a mix of housing types, encouraging complete communities, so you would have access to amenities intertwined with everything else. We also needed to update it because the official plan had been updated in 2023. So we needed to make sure that they aligned and that the vision for the larger city as a whole translated down into that of West Belleville. So with that, we refreshed the vision based on emerging trends for the city. We gathered information through the community to understand what they were hoping to see. A primary focus of the plan as well as cost recovery. So the intention is for the density and the pace of growth to align with the infrastructure needs to make sure that the investment is recovered. It also integrates Loyalist College. So the intent is for Loyalist College to not necessarily be an isolated campus, but instead to be an anchor, something that can draw the local community in, but also connect it to the built-up areas of the city. It also was aligned with the Bell Boulevard and North Front Street corridor study that had been completed, and the plans needed to speak together. They were happening in tandem, and the intention was for them to be integrated seamlessly. With that, a lot has happened since we've begun. So this project started in the fall of 2021, and since then, we have gathered data, including speaking to the community to understand what they would like to see for the vision of the community. In chats with the community, they helped build the preliminary thoughts for the land use concept itself. And then with that, we then started to do our technical analyses to ground the vision into a technical reality. And we are here now today for the statutory public meeting. So we are here to gather some feedback on this revised draft. So with that, the vision and the strategic directions for the secondary plan. So as I mentioned, we had done lots of public engagement. We held 3 public consultation centers, the first of which was to understand how the vision for the area has changed since the plan's adoption in 2010. And with that, we then did our second PCC. It was in September of 2022, just to understand some preliminary directions on the land use to see what people would like to see and where in terms of housing, commercial uses, And then the third PCC, which was October of last year, which is where we took the first draft secondary plan in front of the public for their feedback. So just a high-level capture of the feedback that we had received to date. A lot of it aligns very much with what the province is looking for, so we were quite happy to see that. So everyone was looking for a mix of housing types and densities. They wanted access to green space, including multi-use trails that connected them throughout all of the city, connecting to the existing trail network. They were looking for neighborhood amenities that could be dispersed in like small pockets throughout the neighborhood, so that they would have access to whatever they needed. There was interest in protecting Potters Creek. There was interest in having Loyalist College as an activity center, and that ends up being a key part of this vision. They were interested in seeing higher density near the waterfront and Loyalist College, and then again interested in a complete streets approach to transportation. So anticipating that vehicles aren't going anywhere, but interest in ensuring that all modes of travel, regardless of your age, ability, tenure, having options for all of them everywhere. So with that, the proposed vision, it is anchored on 3 dynamic corridors where Bell Boulevard is envisioned as a commercial and employment engine, with employment uses near the highway and transitioning down into commercial and mixed use, and then lower density residential towards Potters Creek. Bridge Street West was envisioned as a civic spine that connects and integrates Loyalist College to the built-up areas of the city. And then Dundas Street, which was envisioned as a revitalization corridor. There are lots of existing commercial businesses there, but it is envisioned to intensify its businesses over time. Maybe allow for mixed use in the future, but right now envisioned as a commercial corridor. And the strategic directions, our strategy rests on 5 pillars. 1 being growing responsibly, so ensuring the infrastructure costs are recovered. Economic prosperity, so concentrating employment near Highway 401 or other major goods movement corridors with mixed use areas throughout. Complete communities, so providing affordable and missing middle housing, infill housing where needed, and again, a complete streets approach. Sustainable mobility, so creating a multimodal network, including connecting to the existing waterfront trail, and then integrating Loyalist College, anchoring the area with an active campus. So going into the land use concept, there was some work that went into building the foundation to begin with. So we took an environments first and constraints based approach. So what we first did was identify lands that could not be developed. So these included those that needed to be protected, the environmental protection land, so that would be Potters Creek and its floodplains. There were other areas of ecological significance that we had found when we did our natural heritage fieldwork. So we took those out, we netted those lands out and left us with some more land to figure out what would come next. I missed a slide, sorry. And then carrying on with that, we also asked what lands are unlikely to be redeveloped over the lifespan of the plan. So this included the railways. There was an old landfill site, and we also excluded existing and soon to be built up areas. So Potters Creek subdivision, the Village of Avonlea subdivision, and then again, existing and built up neighborhoods already there. So we had removed those, and what was left was what we needed to plan for. So going back to where we had started, that I've annotated the map with the environmental protection land, specifically Potters Creek. And this is the proposed land use plan. So it shows a range of land uses throughout. You have low density and medium density residential in yellow and orange respectively. You have your commercial lands focused on Bell and Dundas. Existing community facilities are noted. And then we have a 4-story as-of-right overlay that I'll get into a bit later. But this is the map. It also shows the proposed transportation network with many collectors throughout. So in terms of the growth and housing framework, the forecast was that it would be about 75,200 people by 2051. And with that, we needed to account for 11,400 new residential units. So we have a mix, as I had mentioned, of low and medium density residential. And in some pockets, while maybe colored orange as medium-density residential, may have opportunities for higher rise forms, but still translating into a medium density overall. And I want to point out that 4-story as of right overlay, that was one of the Housing Accelerator Fund studies that the city had done, trying to find out if there were strategic areas where a minimum height of 4 stories could be accommodated. So right in the center, just south of Moira and east of Avonlow Road, and the college is where that overlay is. It's that black outline. And again, this is building on the provincial interest, providing a mix and range of housing types, and 4-story buildings usually come as a form of missing middle housing. So it's a nice transition between what was very commonly built as single detached and not quite something like a 6-story apartment building, but it's a sweet spot that is a nice transition into a higher form of density. On that note, we also grounded the plan in the city's existing development design guidelines, which they are from 2024 and are intended to be citywide. And it was noted with discussions from the city that they provide clear direction for low and high rise, but not necessarily for these 4-story typologies. There also needs to be a bit more guidance on things like key gateways, for example, the extension of Bridge Street to the college. So in our work, we had decided that it was worth recommending that the city undertake another follow-up exercise just to update these guidelines so that when developers are building in the West Belleville secondary plan area, they have a clear vision of what is anticipated to align with the policy framework. So going into the employment and commercial piece, the employment policies of the province changed significantly in the latest provincial planning statement. So what we had done to align with that, so again, you'll see the gray area is the employment area. It's right by the highway, giving it strategic access to major goods movement corridors. And then you'll also see the employment transition overlay. And so essentially what that's saying is within 300 meters of any employment area, it kind of acts as a trigger for any sensitive use that may be there, that they need to put mitigation measures in so that any uses that go in the employment areas aren't compromised by their long-term viability, for lack of a better word. So that's showing up there. And then there are some dots that don't seem to be tied to an employment area, but that aligns with a piece of the Bell Boulevard North Corridor Front Street study that didn't fall into the study area, but we're capturing that because it still applies. And then also just drawing your attention to that mixed-use node at Avonlow and Moira. That is one of 2 mixed-use nodes in the area. So going into improved connectivity, we applied a complete streets network. So the intention is for the road network to integrate with the existing road network. Again, the intention is for it to accommodate multiple modes of travel and ensure that this area is well connected to the rest of the city. In terms of roadway extensions, we have the Hamilton Road extension that acts as a major east-west connector, as well as the Bridge Street West extension ending at Loyalist College. So again, making sure that Loyalist College is well integrated with the rest of the city, acting as an anchor in this plan. We also have many trails, and I show them on the next slide as well. But again, the city already has lots of trails planned, and this plan builds on those trails. What isn't fully shown are the trails that would be within Loyalist College itself. They had done their own master plans, so there are big plans for the college as well. But again, very well connected throughout the community. So parks, open spaces, and community facilities. So this plan is also grounded in the city's parkland and recreation master plan. So what we did was we put these little NPs throughout the map just to show conceptual locations for some neighborhood parks, but the intention is that any resident is within a 500-meter walk of a park. So especially with Potter Creek being lined with lots of trails, and a park residents 500 meters. It's very accessible to green space. Something else worth mentioning, the future fire EMS and community centers would be addressed through ongoing capital city planning, so we did not look at that for this assessment. So a servicing analysis. So after we had come up with the land use concept and we knew how many units we needed to accommodate, we needed to look at the city's existing infrastructure to see what kind of modifications or upgrades may be needed to accommodate this growth and how it would need to be phased. But to begin, just the servicing. So I'm going to go a little out of order. I'm going to start with the stormwater piece because the blue dots are right there. But we had done a stormwater assessment essentially to find out where the locations for ponds could be. And we also identified how much hard surfaces would be integrated into this plan, thinking like roofs and driveways, just to make sure that the stormwater ponds have the capacity to handle the heavy rain as the climate continues to change and be a little bit unpredictable. In terms of water and wastewater, our assessment analyzed development impacts and proposed phasing options to align with the capacity of existing road, water, and sanitary systems. So with that, development must be phased to match the city's actual infrastructure limits. So we have built in capacity first policies into the plan, which will require servicing to be confirmed before approval. We have also identified some technical challenges with linear infrastructure and water pressure zone configurations, which means that a comprehensive citywide servicing plan is recommended before fully advancing the report's servicing options. Transportation and mobility. So we had also completed a transportation analysis to understand how the area will need to accommodate 2051 traffic volumes in a way that would allow all roadway users to travel around the city as they'd like, whether on foot, on bike, or transit and car. So to accommodate the growth, we learned that we would need to widen Wallbridge Loyalist Road and College Street West, and that the extensions of Genlin Way and Hamilton Road will need to be 4-lane roadways. Implementation and phasing. So we have proposed 3 phases, the first being a 5 to 10 year horizon. So this is any development that can work on the existing infrastructure system. It's usually development that is right next to something that's already built up, and would only require, if any, minor modifications. The phase 2 is dependent on that growth, but also on the operations of the Avonlow Sewage Pumping Station, or SPS. And then phase 3 is the future growth areas that require significant capital investment to unlock. But to move beyond the initial stage of growth, the city must complete a citywide servicing master plan, and this study, compared with a long-term capital budget, will define the exact infrastructure needed to safely and sustainably unlock phase 2 and 3 of development. Density targets and transfers. So I had noted, that there was a large swath of environmental protection land in the center of the study area. And with that, we were conservative with that limit because Quinte Conservation is currently updating the floodplain extent. So it's entirely possible that when that floodplain is updated, lands that are considered right now for development may actually shrink a bit. So we had put in some density transfer policies to kind of keep things as fair as possible, where if a developer loses some land to the floodplain, however many units were meant to be accommodated on those lands could be transferred to a different part of that property and still be accommodated. So still aiming to meet the density target that we've set, and try and make it as fair as possible. So on that note, we have on the screen Schedule B2. It is the density target areas, noting that they are targets, but again, they are, we are striving for a specific target for cost recovery of infrastructure in the area. At the moment, though, the city is currently rebalancing some targets, specifically in the residential designations. So some areas may go to more lower density or more medium density, but that's being looked at as we speak. So the map that you see will be slightly different when it comes for adoption. But stressing that changes are not happening in other land use designations. For example, it's not going to switch to low-density residential, from low-density residential to commercial, for example. On that note, the city will have a monitoring program to keep track as development happens in phases, and to make sure that cost recovery objectives are being met. I want to note the one exception in terms of transfers is the Fahey catchment area. It has limitations. It has a capacity limit as we speak, so it's not as easy to shift density around in that area. So we have to be much more rigid there to ensure that we don't overwhelm the existing system. So in terms of the official plan amendment structure, the intention is essentially to repeal the Loyalist secondary plan that was adopted in 2010, and then replace it in its entirety with what we are calling a new Section 10 to the official plan. So with that, we have prepared 4 new maps. So the one that I had just shown, which is B2, the land use map, which is B1, and then Schedule H and Appendix D, H being the phasing plan, and Appendix D is the stormwater pond catchment map. I forget the exact name. And then other minor modifications just so that we can easily slot the new Chapter 10 in with the official plan. So everything kind of speaks to each other as it should. There might be some other minor housekeeping amendments that again kind of relate to the latest provincial bills and the provincial planning statement of 2024, but should be fairly straightforward in its implementation. And with that, the next steps. So the deadline for the members of the public and other interested parties to provide comments is the 16th of April, after which from April 17th to the 23rd, we will work to revise and finalize the plan to get it ready for adoption. And then May 5th is when we meet with the Planning Advisory Committee to adopt the plan. So if all goes well and we pass the appeal period, June 10th is when this plan will come into effect. So on that note, if anybody has any questions, Rory and I are here. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Any questions from committee members? Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thanks for the presentation. You mentioned right off the top that it started the planning around 2021. You had your website set up and you've had 3 consultations with the community. Just wanted to kind of go back, if you will, just to tell us what their engagement was with the website and how those 3 get-togethers went.
In terms of the engagement for the website, I may have to pass that to Tom.
Sure. Through the chair to Councillor Kelly. I did try to get some of those numbers today in advance of that. I don't have the precise numbers for this project. I'm hopeful for the recommendation. I'll get that because that was noted recently. I can note that the advertisement for this meeting, it had 5,900 views, which right around average, I would suggest. With that, and then our community press newspaper that we put all our notifications in. That one specifically, I was told this morning, it actually goes out to 47,574 residents. So that combined with the city's Get Involved project page, that one has had 1,900 views of this specific project, and then our In Quinte ad reached 11,789 people for that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions from committee members? Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, there's no page number on there. On the page where you talk about integrating Loyalist College and facilitating the evolution of the college as an anchoring activity center, has discussions occurred with Loyalist College in terms of their interest in becoming an anchoring activity center?
Yes, we engaged with Loyalist College as they were working on their master plan as well. So the intention was for them to create community uses that actually went beyond just those who attended the college. So the expectation on their end as well was that they were anticipating the local community nearby to be using their facilities.
And just to, if I could, to carry on to that point, when you're talking about their facilities, you're talking things like their gymnasium. I don't know if they have a pool, but if they had a pool, so it becomes almost more of a recreation facility as opposed to uniquely a college?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Van Dyke?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation tonight. That is a lot of information, and judging by everybody that's in the gala, there's a lot of interest from our community. Two quick questions. One, you had mentioned multi-use trails, but you had also mentioned accessibility. Would these be bike trails, things that people can use with their bikes?
They could be. At the moment, it's more conceptual than anything. Like we had mapped them roughly, but it would happen at the site plan stage that could be decided. I imagine that would be something that could be the city's discretion.
Perfect. And then a follow-up question would be, you had also mentioned the 4-lane roadways. Would those include bike paths as well too?
I think they are intended to be. I may, if I am wrong, I may pass that to Jared, but the intention is for it to be a complete streets approach. So, Jared, if you don't mind speaking to that analysis. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Through you, Chair. Yeah, no, as Amy said, the intent in the future would be looking at it through a complete streets policy at the time of when those roads will need to be extended and reconstructed. As you can probably, if you look at some of those forecasts and timelines, they are in the future. So no immediate plans have been planned for them.
Perfect. Thank you for confirming.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you for your presentation. Okay, as this is a public meeting, I'll just call if people want to come up and address the committee. I would ask that you state your name for the record. It will assist the deputy clerk in terms of providing your name on record, ensure your name is included on the podium. So if anyone's wishing to speak to the official plan application, please come forward, activate the microphone with the button there, and if you could state your name and the floor is yours.
Hi, Dave Earl, Marshall Road. I just have one main question. So get my glasses on here. If we can refer to page 16, paragraph B of this draft. Now that are mentioned about the Bridge Street extension, I did hand out some pictures, and there is a swamp at the end of Marshall Road and Bridge. Are they planning on building a bridge across this swamp? Because it is part of Potter's Creek. And photo number 3 was taken from Water Street, where it shows Marshall Road. And also at the point, there's a creek, which is also part of Potter's Creek. And at the far end, it's swampland and farmland. So is the plan on building a bridge to Loyalist College?
Okay, I'll refer that to Mr. Deming, and I'll ensure that the staff get a copy of these photos. Mr. Deming?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll actually answer that. Yeah, so the future, construction of the Bridge Street extension will include structures that will extend the road, through or over the existing Potter's Creek.
So you're gonna build a bridge.
A crossing has not been designed yet, but yes, upon further detailed design and investigation,
But it also says possible roundabout. You're gonna put a roundabout on a bridge?
likely not. However, that, I don't have the wording in front of me on how it relates the roundabout to the proposed future crossing. But I would suggest that those two things are not the same. There may be a roundabout near the structure, but again, in the future, through detailed design, these things will be analyzed and assessed.
So what I would suggest is, for concerns, I've already passed your photos on. If there's any other concerns you have, if you want to raise them here at the public meeting, and then staff will note them. And the process is that there's a resolution here that will refer this all off to, and I'm speaking to the gallery at large for the public meeting, back to staff, and a report will come back and we'll address some of these things. In terms of road design and network, we're not even there yet. This is the 30,000-foot view for that whole area. And then as capital plans get developed, then road networks get developed and the design gets developed then. This is simply the 25-year build-out of concept.
Right.
But if you want to continue to raise any concerns, we'll note them here and staff will address.
I think I did raise the concern with the photos.
Yes, and those photos have been passed on, yes.
And the other thing I got was on page 26, 10.8, the city was in the process of completing an infrastructure project for another sewage pumping, other than the one that was planned for Avonlow Road. Are we not putting the cart before the horse? In regards to, we've been a resident for 41 years. We've been fighting for services. So we're going to build from the west to the east.
The Avonlow pumping station, I don't want to get into an exchange, but the Avonlow pumping station is to open up capacity in the entire area, but also for all the way along Bridge Street as well.
But on that note, the city received $16.5 million from the federal government if this plan has been approved. It was also noted in that plan.
The official plan and the Avonlow pumping station are separate in the sense that the funding is not contingent on this.
I just, on the note though, it said in this draft
Yeah.
that if this plan is approved.
Okay, well, we'll get you an answer on that question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yep. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the application?
Just had a question.
Yeah, I'd ask you to get to the microphone, state your name first, and then the floor is
I just
yours.
found out about this meeting a few hours ago. Sorry, turn it on.
There you go. Yep.
Hi. Hello to the
Could I get you
members
to,
of the committee. My name is Rod Maxwell.
thank you.
I live on Tracy Park Drive. Just the sheer number of increase in population here. The first question that comes to mind is the traffic. Everybody in this room has probably lived here for 20 years, and we watch the city grow nominally, and we watch the arteries fill up, North Front Street and Sydney Street, and Bell Boulevard on a busy weekend is pretty much in gridlock. Has there been traffic studies done to see where all this new population is going to get to the grocery store and their doctor's appointments and that type of thing?
Yes. As development occurs, so for example, I'll just give you an example, the village of Avonlow, which is on the west side of Avonlow, part of the subdivision agreements and part of the official plan amendment was traffic studies. So when the development gets to a point where they want to build, those traffic studies for those areas come into play specific to that neighborhood. In addition to that, and it's mentioned in the material, the city's currently undergoing a review of the entire transportation network of the city.
Yeah, I'm thinking, first of all, like just where the mall is. Like it's very, very busy. How much of an increase in population are we talking here when this whole plan is in effect?
I'll refer that to staff.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The total population, sorry, I just want to get the exact number here. And just, yeah. The population projection for it is just over 11,000 units. Now, again, that's a large number, but, you know, as stated, is a long-term plan, 25, 30 years envisioning for that. And then as Councillor Carr mentioned, transportation, an assessment was completed as part of this project that looked at how that would flow internally within this area, but then also connecting to the existing areas that it abuts. Further to that, as development applications come in to develop individual parcels within the area, those are also evaluated through traffic assessments at those times. All of those projects are also further evaluated by the city through our transportation master plan, which is currently ongoing and update as well. So it's actually nice timing because this, the evaluations that are coming from this project, the future planning from this can also be integrated into that as well, so that we ensure we have a consistent plan.
If you could direct your question to me as the chair, and then I can either get you an answer through staff, or you can just raise the concern, because again, we're just seeking that feedback, and staff are going to come back and address every one of these concerns that are raised here tonight. So your concern was transportation, traffic.
Yeah, because, I mean, all of this, according to your map, all these people that are going to populate this area are going to gravitate towards the existing city for their shopping and their services and everything. Because within the map, it doesn't look like there's very many commercial establishments going to be built. Like, is there going to be doctor's offices? Is there going to be grocery stores?
There is, sorry, the map's not up there, but there are commercial, and the consultant had outlined at the top, particularly in the Bell Boulevard area, that there's commercial overlay in that area, which makes sense because there's already existing commercial in there. Those areas, and in some of that transitory period or sections before you get into the residential, is where you would see kind of those soft commercial, like a doctor's office, for example. I'll point to Maitland Drive as a prime example, where you've got more industrial down on Parks Drive. On Maitland Drive, you've got more of the strip mall type styles. A doctor's office has just gone in there, and then in behind that is residential.
Okay,
so there are some areas.
Yeah, that's my question. Is
Yep.
like you're taking. I don't know the city that well, and I didn't prepare for this meeting. It's just that it looks like you're expanding the city by at least a third. Would that be correct?
I wouldn't say necessarily a third, but perhaps maybe a quarter or a little over a quarter.
Okay, so it is as a consultant, that's all I'm asking. Is are we looking at? Okay, we got to grow the city by a quarter, so we need 25% more arteries, traffic, goods and services. I'm just asking if those have been planned. It just seems like a really large plan to say, okay, as of April 16th, that's it, the plan's done.
Okay, so I don't want to get into a dialogue here. Well, perhaps maybe after you could stick around and we can have a conversation.
Yeah, that'd be
but again,
great.
this is the 30,000-foot view of conceptually how the land would be used. And then from there, as plans come forward, particularly private sector when it comes to development, whether it be commercial, industrial, or residential, it would be that private investment, whoever owns those lands at the time, that would come forward and say, this is what I want to build or develop on this property, and does it align with the official plan and the zoning? So,
Okay, because it seems like right now the plan is just about, we're putting in X number of residences.
no, this is just basically making not even making a decision today. This is about conceptually looking at the land and how best it could be used over a 25-year period.
Okay, so for the 5 to 10 year plan, is it going to be just residential housing that's going to be built?
The purpose of the public meeting is to express concerns or views on it. So if you have those, we'll take those, but I can't get into a Q&A session here. But if you want to stick around, we'll make sure that we can get some of your answers.
Okay, it's, I just think there's a lot of questions to be asked here.
Sure.
And to say that consultation is going to be cut off on April 16th for a plan this large seems a little unreal to me. Anyway,
Okay.
thank you for your
Yeah,
time.
thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yep, if you could just state your name.
Hi, Brian Wallace. We live on Avonlow Road at the top end of it there by the Old Humane Society. I don't know if any councillors have been on Avonlow Road. It's wicked. It's disgusting, to tell you the truth. And even now they're starting again with the dump trucks and stuff, even though the half load's still on. But if you come up there at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the daytime, the traffic is backed up from Wyra Street past our house. 1,000 feet with the traffic. And is there any, I guess the city's responsible for Avonlow Road. Is there anything in the works to widen Avonlow Road or get sidewalks in there with the school being there? There's people that use Avonlow Road. They go down to the bike path now, but there's still people back and forth on Avonlow Road pushing their baby carriages. So a lot of days it's a disaster on Avonlow Road. So I guess that kind of goes with the previous gentleman about some of the traffic issues that we have at that end. So I didn't know if there was anything going there. I guess we've heard too that was there potential to put lights in at Wyra Street and Avonlow, or they talked about a traffic circle down at the south end, where the new subdivision is proposed down that side on the right hand, the west hand side of Avonlow. So I don't know what's going on with Avonlow, but it's a mess.
Okay.
Avonlow's a mess.
Okay, thank you.
You can't even walk on Avonlow. It's like this, and it's like the way the sides go from the center of your road that's supposed to be, but in the city's up there all the time patching it. 2 days later, everything's out of the holes again. So that's part of that study, I guess, maybe,
Well,
for the traffic.
Eventually, as development occurs, but this is
Yeah.
more conceptually at the larger, higher level. Your concerns seem to be more immediate and perhaps something that you should take up with transportation operations. So if you want to stick around, we can certainly help direct you to that.
But have they ever put a counter down for traffic on Avonlow Road?
That doesn't have anything to do with the official plan in terms of what this committee's looking at today.
But it could down the road.
It will down the road
Yeah.
when that development occurs, for sure, yes, but not for the purpose of looking at this entire area from a conceptual land use. But if you don't mind sticking around, we can get you some more specific action.
Yeah, well,
on
just
your-
kind of, everything's kind of popping up with all these, with all this stuff, these plannings that's going on. So what's the planning for the roadways, I guess, that, we built there in 2010, owned the property before that, but didn't build till 2010. But ever since 2010, we've been there. It's just been crazy on Avonlow Road. And more so now with the new high-rises they've built to the south at school time. Everybody doesn't go down number 2. They come up our road and go down Myra Street to go into town now. They don't go the other way. They come north and go down Wyra Street. And if you check with police, there's probably been 5 or 6 accidents right there at that corner. So that's why I know there was some talk about putting lights in at Wyra Street
Yeah.
and Avonlow.
If you don't mind sticking around afterwards, and we'll get you some more immediate answers on those more pressing issues.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Yep, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the official plan amendment?
Maureen Simmons. I live on Kensington for quite a long time. Used to be Sydney Township, then Quinte West. and now the city of Belleville, and I've never moved. Anyway, so development, first of all, I want to say, Mr. Chair, actually I think it's a great plan, very well thought of. I love the concepts of the bike trails and the different green space every 500 meters. I think that is wonderful. You want Belleville to be a place where everybody wants to live. So I do have the similar concern about the extension of Bread Street West over the, well, we used to call it Jones Creek, but it's Potter's Creek extension. That is a wetland, and it needs to be done carefully so the environment is maintained. And I don't know with the changes with Quinte Conservation and conservation areas how that is going to be affect things in the future. But to me, that is very, very important to maintain that area. The other issue related to that is the high level of water, the groundwater. So it's just not the floodplain issues. It's just like when they built the houses in Potter's Creek, you could tell the groundwater is very, very high. And water has to go somewhere. And where is it going to go? So anything you do that changes the groundwater will affect any development there. So I don't know what sort of plan they will put into place for any buildings. The groundwater is high most of the time. And the other concern I have is the power grid. Ontario Hydro serves the area now, as far as I know, and they have major issues with outages, which I also have a cottage property in Quinte West, and my property in Belleville has more outages than the property in Quinte West, a cottage. And it doesn't seem reasonable to me that in a city that you have these power outages. I don't know why they occur so often, but the power grid has to be addressed before any development, or it has to have the capacity to serve 11,000 more units. So those are just my concerns.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, every concern staff will note and will address in a report back to the committee. Anyone else wishing to speak to the application? If you could just activate the microphone and state your name, and the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Glenn Lidstone. I have the misfortune of living on Avonlow Road. I totally echo your concerns. I drive down my road and it's like a slalom course. So avoid this pothole, avoid that car. Anyway, 30,000 foot plan. Okay, that's nice, but we live on the ground. I have a couple of points I want to make. The first point is there's the plan, and then there are the things that are not in the plan. One of the things that's not in the plan is what the developers can do with temporary buildings. Okay, so I live on Avonlow. Now across the street from me is I don't know how big it is, 4,000, 5,000 square foot sales office, which we had zero input on. It's right across the street from my house. I look down my driveway and I see an outhouse, and I see a garbage bin, and I see all kinds of garbage and clutter, and I see a fence that's been knocked down. It's been like that all winter. So then I looked into, well, what are the bylaws on these things? And apparently in 2024, the city changed the bylaws on temporary use buildings which developers have the right to use. And all the safeguards that were in there that would make what you would constitute a temporary building are gone. They can basically do whatever the hell they want. They could probably build a shopping plaza there, and there's nothing in the bylaw that says they can't do it, other than the fact that they are designating it as temporary. Okay? So that's my first concern. Would you like to say something, Paul?
No, go ahead.
There's also there's just the disrespect in the way the whole thing's happen on this Avonlea side. I mean, the fact that, that outhouse, for example, could have been put behind the building. But
I-
again,
I-
my number one
could-
point is
could
we
I-
have zero consultation on that building
Could I,
being there.
could I just interrupt for a second? I need the comments to be directed on the official plan application.
Well, that's, okay, that's 30,000 feet.
But
My
that-
point is, when you get down to the ground level,
But you're at the-
things change, and we have no controls over things like temporary buildings. And what I would encourage this council, most of whom I'm not going to vote for, is to revisit those bylaws and put some actual real controls in there for what the residents that are around these developments are actually facing. That's point number one. Go ahead. Sorry, I may have interrupted you. You
No, I
can
was
tell
just
I'm a
gonna-
little upset by
Yeah,
this.
I was gonna say is the concerns you're expressing here are at the site plan level and specific to a certain development and are not related to the application of the land use in that area. So I just have to say that please center your comments on the secondary plan that's being considered of the committee here and raise those concerns. And if you want to talk about those other concerns, certainly members of council can stay afterwards. We can have those conversations and we can direct you to staff. But I need those that are speaking to speak to the application that's before us tonight.
So the related point then would be to respect the land that has already been developed. So, for example, in my case, on Avonlow Road, the lots are roughly 100 feet wide, each house to house, okay? 100 feet wide. On the other side, what are we going to build? We're going to have lots that are less than 50 across the street from houses that are, and they're all both going to face into the same street, right? That's going to look absolutely ridiculous for the sake of the 6 houses or so that are on the east side of Avonlow. So when you're doing these plans, it would be nice to consider the people that already live there. That would be my first point. Second point, I guess, is we have these meetings. I would ask, you know, there's a certain number of objections and concerns that have been raised. I'm wondering how many of them have actually been addressed? How many were actually taken into consideration? Because I don't see it happening in the case of the Avonlea development as an example. That would be my question.
Okay, thank you.
Is there an answer to that?
We can certainly have a conversation after. You're
All right.
talking about a specific issue.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the official plan application?
Thank you, Jennifer Mills, and I'll be brief. I'm not sure I haven't read the whole plan, but I can just speak to specifically that Bridge Street West part. When I saw the presentation, I live over towards Bridge Street West, so I have front view of it, and it's just hard to picture it becoming a central spine, having been there for 20 years and seen, and I think part of that comment about the 30 feet distance and then the immediacy is probably just that warning or concern about the pace of development and the consultation of who gets consulted in what order. And right now, I think it's probably just outside the boundary of the plan where the YMCA is being built on parkland. That was parkland. There wasn't a lot of consultation there. It was, going to be over at the fairgrounds, and now it's front and center on Bridge Street West, and it's probably right outside of this plan. I'm not sure about the geography, but you can tell that Bridge Street West, if you drive by it on your way out of this meeting, it's falling apart like it is. Shovels fixing it every couple of weeks because the potholes are expanding. It's just so hard to picture it being a central spine, and it's a 2-lane road that's been falling apart, and there is the marshland and the wetland, and it's just so obvious. So I think that part about making sure that the development doesn't get ahead of itself, supporting a vision that needs some really significant infrastructure before Bridge Street, can become even a proper throughway. It's being used as a throughway versus a central spine for that plan. I just see a kind of a stretch there. I'm not saying it's not practical at some point, but you don't want to see this development getting done when there's not going to be roads to support the immediate traffic in the 5 to 10 years of what's being proposed, if that relates to the plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, just one more thing. Has there been any discussion on any wildlife in that area?
We can, if you want to note that as a concern, staff will.
Well, I have deer in my yard all the time.
Okay.
And are there gonna be, like, especially for that wetland there, and of course, we're on the west side of Avonlow, so Loyalist College surrounds our property. There's nothing but Loyalist College property around us. And there's lots of deer over there and stuff like, there's coyotes, there's everything there. So has there been any consideration on wildlife stuff in that area?
There has, and if you look at the conceptual map, there's a pretty large area that's environmentally protected area because of the Potters Creek area.
Okay,
and it's quite wide at the north end.
So just for
demonstrating
example, there's places they put tunnels in so deer can go under a road or doing, stuff like that. So is there?
There's nothing related to design at this point. This, again, is simply looking at the conceptual land use for that entire area, and it hasn't gone into any specifics related to road type, road design, anything like that. But your concern regarding wildlife is noted, and I see staff that are taking notes.
Well, a lot of times.
And when the report comes back to the committee here and then off to council, it will include all the concerns that are raised at this public meeting to ensure they've been addressed in some fashion.
Yeah.
But nothing will get into the specifics of the design. This is simply land use at the large scale.
Well, just getting at, a lot of times wildlife is an afterthought
Nope, okay.
when
Thank
people
you.
are planning things, right? So it's just something, when another gentleman was talking about different things and when they were talking about the wetlands there, I see all kinds of animals through that area. Like I live right there by Susanna Moody School, and I guess the pump house is going to be built on the south side of Susanna Moody. And is there any time frame when that might start as well?
We can get you an answer to those specific things afterwards.
Okay,
Yes, but
thank
thank
you.
you for the wildlife comment.
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to speak to the application? If you could just activate the microphone, state your name.
Hi there, my name's Kathleen Robinson, and I'm here on behalf of Campbell Monument Company. We're in one of those little parcels of land down in the red area at the bottom at Wallbridge Loyalist Road and Dundas Street West. We've purchased that property in the late 80s and had understood that at that point in time, the wastewater and city water would soon follow. And we have had city water for, I'm going to say, about 20 years, but we still don't have a wastewater infrastructure there. And I was concerned to see that it's in the 25-year plan of the plan that was just looked at today. And so I would just like to really strongly voice my concern that decade after decade, we've sort of been part of the next plan. And at this evening's meeting, I'm seeing that it's looking at 25 more years. So we've been in business in the city of Belleville since 1909. We employ quite a number of people. We've had to put in an entire second septic system, which we've now lost that use of our commercial property because it's a second septic system. So that's my concern that I wanted to voice today, and hope that maybe that can be moved up into the nearer future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yep.
Hello, my name is Ted Crouch. I have a quick question about naming the streets, the future streets. Will there be a consideration of local historical families and maybe First Nations people?
Typically, the city maintains a list of street names, and then in addition to that, developers, as they design their subdivisions, either pull from that list or will provide names that get reviewed. And then they have to get reviewed through the 911 system to ensure phonetically that they're able to be pronounced for the purpose of dispatch of emergency. So there are, those considerations are all included, yes.
Great. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the application? I'll ask a second time. And one last time, anyone wishing to speak to the application? Okay, thank you. And so moving on, I got a resolution that the zoning amendment application number PLO-PA 2025-0379 be referred to the regular Planning Advisory Committee for consideration. Moved by Councillor Brown, second by Councillor Kelly. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Move to adjourn this portion of the meeting at 6:35 p.m. Moved by Councillor Sioux, second by Councillor Enright Miller. All in favor? That's carried. Moving on to the Planning Advisory Committee, disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none, reading and confirmation of the minutes of the Planning and Advisory Committee meeting held on March 2nd, 2026 be approved. Moved by Mr. Baltutis, second by Ms. Van Dyke. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. No deputations. Correspondence, resolution that the Planning Advisory Committee received the correspondence for information. Moved by Mr. Fenton, seconded by Councillor Brown. All in favor? That's carried. Referrals from the public meeting. Notice of complete application and introductory public meeting for a proposed city-initiated official plan amendment for the new West Belleville secondary plan. File numbers PLO-PA 2025-0379. Resolution reads that report number PP-2026-02 dated April 7th, 2026 regarding notice of complete application and introductory public meeting for a proposed city-initiated official plan amendment for the new West Belleville secondary plan be received as information, and that staff report back at such time as input from the public, commenting agencies, and municipal departments has been received, assessed, and addressed to the satisfaction of the Engineering and Development Services Department. Moved by Ms. Van Dyke, seconded by Mr. Baltutis. Any questions or comments from committee members? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to reports, 7.1, staff recommendation report for proposed zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw 2024-100 as amended, 25 Old Bay Bridge Road, City of Belleville. Owner is Harbour LP 25, care of Luke Wilson. Applicant agent is Harbour LP 25, care of Thomas Binzik. And the file number is PLZBA 2025-0251. Resolution reads that the Planning Committee recommends the following Council that pursuant to Principal Planner's Report Number APS-2026-07, Staff Recommendation Report for Proposed Zoning Bylaw Amendment, Bylaw 2024-100, as amended for 25 Old Bay Bridge Road, City of Belleville, be approved as follows. That zoning bylaw number 2024-100 as amended be amended by rezoning the subject land from mixed use type 2 MX2-1 zone with special provisions to residential type 2 R2-32 zones with special provisions to facilitate the construction of 213 units across a range of dwelling types, including stacked and back-to-back townhouses dwellings, a mixed-use low-rise multi-unit dwelling, and a mixed-use mid-rise multi-unit dwelling. Moved by Mr. Jennings, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Any questions or comments? Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In discussions with staff, I've been able to clarify that the R232 zone will exclude low-density, single-family dwellings or single semi-detached dwellings. I need a bit of help here as to whether or not, I did not know what R232 meant in getting that clarity that those were exclusions under this zoning. And I'm wondering if the actual recommendation needs to add that clarity that at the exclusion of those two types of housing types.
Okay, I'm going to refer that to staff who can help me out with that one.
Through the chair. A bylaw has been created and it has been included in the bylaw. It should be noted that the request was a bit cumbersome to include all at once into the recommendation of the report, so we tried to create basically a a broad recommendation, if I may say. But in the bylaws, it has been detailed out explicitly. And also in sections of the report, like the bylaw section, we've also captured that, and as well as in the highlighted section of the report. But yes, definitely, it's included in the bylaw. And yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Information matters, resolution of the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment monitoring report dated April 2026 be received. Moved by Mr. Baltutis, second by Mr. Fenton. Any questions or comments on those? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. General business. Seeing none, I need a resolution of adjournment. The meeting be adjourned at 6:40 p.m. Moved by Ms. Van Dyke, second by Mr. Baltutis. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.